People and animals alike are suffering from the fires in Australia. Hi there, thanks for joining us for episode 226 of Plain English. I'm Jeff, JR is the producer, and you can find the transcript, video lesson, flashcards, and translations for this episode at plainenglish.com/226. Coming up today, Australia is one of the world's most biodiverse countries, and its animals are suffering in the intense wildfires that have been sweeping the outback. The expression today is in the face of, and we have a quote of the week. Australia is suffering through its worst wildfire season in recent memory. The fires have burned 15 million acres, destroyed 2,000 homes, and killed 24 people. But it's not just the people who have been affected, it's the animals too, and that is one of the saddest parts of the crisis for this nature-loving country. Australia is one of the most biodiverse parts of the earth. It's one of 17 countries considered mega diverse. These 17 countries have 10% of the Earth's land area, but 70% of the world's biological diversity. Researchers believe over 600,000 species exist in Australia. Many of them are exclusive to that country. Some are so rare they don't have names and haven't been studied. For all its diversity, though, two animals are emblematic of Australia: the kangaroo and the koala bear. Ecologists say that there were about 50,000 koalas before the fires broke out. The animals are fuzzy, cute, and peaceful. They don't run fast, and they are defenseless in the face of natural disasters like wildfires. Volunteers are working to find injured koalas and get them help. Often, a koala that has been injured can be treated at one of Australia's specialty veterinarian clinics, and they can be returned to the wild. Unfortunately, the stories don't always have a happy ending. In one well-publicized case, a woman ran into a fire to rescue a koala bear. She doused the flames, protected the bear with her shirt, and took it to an animal hospital. But the koala would not have recovered from its burns and had to be euthanized. It's impossible to know how much damage the fires will do to the koala population. There's a lot of speculation, a lot of numbers being thrown around, but it's just a guessing game at this point. Kangaroos are more mobile, but they can't always escape the blaze. In one case, hundreds of them took refuge on a golf course as the flames crept closer and closer in the surrounding woods. Some survived, but many were burned so badly that they had to be euthanized too. Veterinarians have to carry out this heartbreaking work of determining which kangaroos can be saved. they have to euthanize the ones that can't. It's heartbreaking work for people who dedicate their careers to caring for animals, but they know it's the right choice because the animals are suffering and would soon die anyway. There are a lot of headlines about the extent of the damage, how many animals and species have been affected, things like that. It's too early to know exactly how this will affect the biodiversity of Australia. This year's fires may push some species into terminal decline, which is to say that it may not kill off an entire species, but it may weaken it to the point where the species cannot recover and will eventually die off. It is sad to see animals suffer, but it's also worth keeping in mind that nature is resilient. As cruel as these wildfires seem, fires are endemic to Australia. Eucalypt trees, in which the koalas live, bounce back quickly after fires like this. Australian gum trees have evolved to thrive after a fire. The ash will fertilize the ground and provide the nutrients that forests need to recover. Surviving animals will return to a healthy, growing forest and, in most cases, rebuild their populations. Animals in the wild aren't the only ones affected. Livestock, too, have suffered. If you have a herd of sheep, it's not easy to keep them away from the fires. On one farm, a heroic farm worker named Patsy helped herd the family farm's 900 sheep away from the fires and into an enclosed area, away from danger, while other members of her family fought the fires with a tractor and a hose. The stress of the fires and the confusion can take a toll on the animals on a farm. Patsy would know. She is an Australian sheepdog herself. Patsy's owner described her as cool as a cucumber as she was herding the sheep. That's a good phrase to know. Cool as a cucumber. It means you keep your head when you're under stress. You don't panic. If you're not yet part of our email list, then I would encourage you to join today. Members of our email community get so much more than just the program, and it's totally free. Every Monday and Thursday, we'll teach you one additional word or phrase that we used during the program, and that's usually a more informal word or phrase. And we'll also send you links to English language articles about the main topic so you can read more about any topics that you especially like. All that can be yours for free by signing up at plainenglish.com/mail. Today we're going to talk about what "in the face of" means. Here's how you heard it earlier. Koala bears are cute, fuzzy, cuddly, peaceful, but often defenseless in the face of natural disasters. Let's break this down. First of all, defenseless. This simply means they don't have many options for survival. They don't run very fast, so they can't outrun the fires. They can't build a shelter to protect them from heavy storms, etc. Most smaller animals are defenseless in the face of wildfires. Humans are an exception. We can see them coming and we can get away from them relatively easily. But most animals in the wild are defenseless in the face of wildfires. Here's what it means. In the face of means when confronted with. Small animals are defenseless when confronted with wildfires or when they have to deal with wildfires. When wildfires are a threat, the animals are defenseless. How else can we use in the face of? I'm going to give you a few examples. As I read them to you, I want you to notice that these are all examples of either threats or confrontation. So here we go. Some ways to use in the face of. In the face of opposition. In the face of the enemy. In the face of competition. In the face of lawsuits. In the face of failure. In the face of trauma. In the face of pressure. I'll give you some more detail on those, but those are all examples of something that's either dangerous, like the enemy or wildfires, or simply difficult or confrontation. Confrontation is like conflict, so competition, lawsuits, pressure, things like that. Here's an example. One thing I use at home is Tide Pods. Tide is laundry detergent, and instead of coming in a huge bottle, Tide Pods are these little packets, and you just throw one or two of them into the washing machine, and you don't have to deal with pouring the sticky liquid into a cup and all that stuff. The problem is Tide Pods look like delicious candy to a 7 or 8-year-old. And when these first came out, there were a lot of cases of children poisoning themselves by eating these little packets of laundry detergent. In the face of bad publicity, Procter & Gamble had to redesign the packaging to make it harder for children to access. In the face of bad publicity, when confronted with bad publicity, P&G had to change the design. You can also say that in the face of several lawsuits, P&G had to improve its product safety. Both of those work. These are dangers to P&G. It's not good if your customers are poisoned and they start suing you. So in the face of these dangers, P&G had to revisit its product safety. You might say that in the face of adversity, your family has stuck together. Adversity is like negative events. Let's say that you have a beloved family member who dies, And then another one is dealing with health problems. Maybe one other person lost his job. These are things that are difficult to deal with, and put together, they represent adversity. But you might say that in the face of adversity, our family has stuck together. That means that despite the difficulty, and when having to confront or deal with the difficulty, your family has still stuck together, supporting one another in the face of adversity. You can also say in the face of tragedy. You could say, in the face of tragedy, my family remained strong. These are all good examples of in the face of. We have a quote of the week for you today. I saw it this week and I recognized it. I had definitely seen it before. It's a quote that is near and dear to my heart, especially now that I am involved in this program. This program is called Plain English for a reason. Plain English is a phrase that means language that is simple, direct, and clear. It can be easily understood. And there is a quote by a famous English writer that explains my philosophy perfectly, not just for you as English learners, but for any English writer. Here's the quote by George Orwell. Never use a foreign phrase, a scientific word, or a jargon word if you can think of an everyday English equivalent. That's perfect. He's saying, don't make it too complicated. Just speak in plain English. Don't try to use words that are too complicated or scientific because that interferes with your ability to communicate. And that's the heart of why we speak and write, to communicate, to connect with others. So why would we use words that interfere with that? To sound smart? Give me a break. Once more, from George Orwell, never use a foreign phrase, a scientific word, or a jargon word if you can think of an everyday English equivalent. That's it for today. Thanks for joining us for this episode. Once more, the URL is plainenglish.com/226. If you'd like to see the other resources that accompany this episode. Next up, on Thursday, there's a country that's considering changing the way they represent their names. You know, we in the Western world typically put our given names first and our family names after that. In Asia, they tend to put their family names first, given names second. Well, there's one country contemplating a switch. We'll tell you all about that coming up on Thursday. If you've enjoyed today's episode, then I know you'll love being part of our membership program. For anyone who is looking to speak English with more confidence, you'll want to join Plain English Plus. If you ever find yourself too scared to speak, you can't find the right word, you don't understand people at native speed, if that sounds like you, then you can benefit from the resources we have in Plain English Plus. I'd really like you to learn more by going to plainenglish.com/plus, P-L-U-S, and reading all about it. Once again, visit plainenglish.com/plus, P-L-U-S, and I'll look forward to welcoming you into our membership.